Meeting to order.
You're early.
I am early. Catherine, Mr. Roll call.
Okay. Wilman,
Here.
Voorhees,
Yo.
Cow,
Here.
Godis,
Here.
Davis,
Still here.
Step,
Yes.
Hershey.
All right, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Is there any conflicts of interest or agenda changes from anybody? Yes, Charlie.
I have a conflict on item 2519, but it's going to get continued. I will not be voting on that motion to continue, but I won't leave the dais because it's going to be so brief.
Sure. Any other conflicts or agenda changes? All right. Hearing none, let's go to council comments. Citizens appearing before council. These are items not appearing on the agenda. Lisa.
Hi. Lisa Langer, Director of Tourism, Visit Glenwood Springs, which is a department of the Glenwood Springs Chamber Resort Association. And I wanted to report to you all that we had a very successful Colorado Governor's Tourism Conference this week. And we learned a lot, including some funding ideas, which I'll bring to you all at a different time. But I wanted to tell you that Glenwood Springs fared very well when it came to awards. And so first, we were awarded as part of the Colorado Historic Hot Springs Loop, a collaborative effort, we were awarded the Outstanding Marketing Award. So we're very excited about that. Great. Thank you. And then we were awarded a second award, which is a brand new award. And I want to show this little video.
Is it the Best Tourism Department in Glenwood Springs Award?
I wish.
The next honoree in the Sustainability Initiative, Project, or Program category set out to protect and steward a popular national natural landmark. Crowds were veering off designated trails, leaving trash behind. Drivers made their own parking spots in dangerous areas, and relaxing on the pristine lake's packed boardwalk had become impossible. Following 6 years of planning with the City of Glenwood Springs and the Forest Service, the project debuted trail and visitor center improvements and signage, education surrounding the Care for Colorado principles, and a wildly successful reservation and shuttle system to limit each day's hikers and ensure the lake is never crowded. This year's second winner for Outstanding Sustainability Initiative is Visit Glenwood Springs Hanging Lake Management Plan.
Great. Thank you. And so on behalf of the management plan, I would like to call up Deborah Figueroa, who without her help, this, and of course, past and present council and staff, this would not have happened. So I would like to award you, Deborah, with the Outstanding Sustainability Award.
Yeah, for sure.
Countless hours, I might add, were put into this, and so we so appreciate being able to promote this beautiful treasure. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Lisa.
you, Lisa.
And thank you very much, Deborah, as well.
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you, Deborah.
A lot of work.
Just assume. Okay. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Gary Fitt.
I'd like to read into the record, and I made each of you a copy, you can read it later.
Thanks.
Gary, if you wouldn't mind giving your name and address.
Certainly. Gary Vick, 614 Cowden Avenue. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, thank you for letting me visit with you tonight. Last July, Richard Todd and myself had the opportunity to propose the establishment of a citizen steering committee to advise council on the disposition of the confluence area and the selection of a master developer. That was a follow-up to the 2019 plan. And I'm pleased to hear that council is considering establishment of such a committee. I think it will be widely supported by the public. In yesterday's work session, I was surprised to hear, and I hope I did not miss here, some council members favored selection of a master developer prior to establishing the Citizen Steering Committee. I fully support rational development of the confluence, but I counsel you to reverse this sequencing if that is in fact what I heard. In the weeks following our proposal, there were dozens of letters to the Post-Independent that opposed in one form or another the options presented in the plan. Had there been any supporters of these three options that were discussed in the plan, I think somebody would have written about it. Optically, seeking a master developer before establishing a citizen steering committee may be seen by the public as ignoring their input. Practically, one does not engage a master developer before forming the steering committee any more than a design team designs a new car without asking the customer if they want an SUV, a sports car, or a sedan. It's kind of about know your customer. I think some of you may say that we've already done this, we've solicited input from the public, and certainly yesterday's work session summarizes the dates of the charrettes and town halls that were conducted on this topic, but neither the consultant yesterday nor any councilman that I heard recited any of the outcomes of these meetings or discussed their perception of what had been gleaned from these meetings. Rather, I heard council members state their own views, some of which included, and these are completely taken out of context, so please bear with me, they're not meant to be in any way negative, but these are some things I heard. We don't need any more public input on this. We need to select one of the existing options and give the master developer a starting point. We should start with a master developer and then establish a citizen steering committee for the master developer to work with. And lastly, I heard one of the councilmen say, this needs robust public input, and right now the public does not have a clue what we are up to. I congratulate Councilman Davis for pointing that out. I think the public would, to some extent, agree with that. I simply want to request that you start this process by first establishing the Citizen Steering Committee. It is important to get the sequencing correct and to make sure that the master developer gets off on the right foot. Doing it in this order avoids wheel spin down the road and is the best way to assure that the public ultimately approves and votes for what the master developer comes up with. And that's your goal. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Any other citizens? All right, seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, we may have overlooked the agenda switches we were talking about.
You know, Rick, I was talking to Carl, and he thinks that the planning items are going to be very brief in nature. So, is that okay with you, or would you like to switch those around? It
Well,
doesn't matter to me.
I mean, I just know we have people from the community that come in and may not want to hear all of our internal discussions.
Sure, that's fine.
So,
I'm fine with switching that up.
Okay.
I would say that you also have applicants here on the planning item.
Do we?
We're continuing one, and we have applicants here on the other one, so really, no matter what you do, somebody is having to wait. The planning item, talking to Trent, should take no more than 15 minutes, probably closer to 10 to get through.
6.
Yeah, I just,
Why don't we move item 7 to after 11?
I'm sorry?
After 11 o'clock?
Why don't we move the budget till after item 11?
I'm great with that.
Or maybe after 12, I'm sorry.
I wanted to, the budget's very upbeat.
I'm not trying to take away your thunder.
A lot of good work this year.
I think given the length of probably the library presentation and the museum activity update being relatively brief, I don't think there's a problem moving both of those items ahead of the planning items, because I think someone's going to have to wait 20 minutes on somebody. So I'm fine having the applicant wait another 20 minutes, if that's okay with the applicant. Great. So we'll move items 11 and 12 up to following the item number 8, because that'll just be a continuance.
Go after.
Is there any other council comments? Seeing none. Wow, all right. Let's go to the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
How about if we have a motion?
Yes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you,
Second.
Charlie.
I'll second.
Been moved by Shelley, seconded by Rick. All in favor?
Still.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Can't juggle me like this. All right, 2020 budget.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to go over some of the major highlights of the 2020 budget. I want to start with some major highlights from 2019 because we're still in it. As you know, we're replacing the 27th Street Bridge. Our Hanging Lake Shuttle system kicked off. Our finance module for our ERP system went live. We're currently implementing the HR/payroll module for the ERP. We had our 100% renewable electric energy event. We brought our landfill management in-house and eliminated a $1 million deficit. We got a URA approved on the mall property. We brought downtown maintenance in-house and rolled out downtown security. We had a robust discussion and made decisions on a vacation rental. We were awarded significant grant funding, a $7 million Build America grant, $1.1 million from DOLA, $800,000 from FMLD, $500,000 from CML for the 27th Street Bridge, and we were awarded EPA technical assistance for both the Confluence and the Hanging Lake Shuttle system. In 2018 and 2019, for the first time ever, we got the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. We also got the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting Program, a CAFR, for the first time in 2018. We replaced the MOC to ensure, we're in the process of replacing our MOC to ensure the safety of our employees. We awarded the 6th Street Roundabout. Steve Boyd participated in a sales tax standardization remote online sales tax task force to make eventually collecting sales tax online to improve it. We did an increased focus on special events. Oktoberfest we just had, 4th of July, May the 4th be with you, movies and music in Bethel Plaza, just to name a few. We demolished the former MOC at the Confluence. We finished construction at 7th Street. We put forth an aggressive strategy on the proposed RMR expansion. We are almost done with our strategic vision. We did shoreline restoration at 3 Mile Beach in Veltis. We implemented our code rewrite. We did $1.5 million in street reconstruction and repairs. And we passed very aggressive legislation on vaping and youth smoking. Okay, which leads us to the future. You guys have picked 5 strategic council goals. Number 1, provide efficient and responsive city government, preserve and improve infrastructure, protect and preserve our quality of life, generate sustainable economic development, and ensure public safety. We took all of these things in consideration as we put together the 2020 budget. Before we get into that, I did want to explain one complicated change that we made yesterday and why we made it. I had a citizen bring up that potentially using A&I funds for the strip mine opposition may not be a good idea in A&I. We still need to do it, though. So we're making changes in the budget to make sure we can. We removed that $400,000 from A&I. We allocated $250,000 that had been in capital, $100,000 from art center improvements and $150,000 in recreation improvements, and put that into A&I because that is an appropriate use of the funding. It's called out in the question. We then took that $250,000 that had been in the capital fund and reallocated that to the city manager's contingency fund that we use. Like this year we used it, there were about $80,000 worth of rockfall mitigation we had to do very quickly out in South Midland. So we went ahead and used it for that. We used it to take down the former train depot. So we use it for capital projects for the most part. And then in the general fund, we took that $250,000, reallocated it to RMR opposition. And then we had about $2.2 million in unallocated reserves remaining. So we just did a reserve. It's not an operating, it's just a reserve, like a line item, $1 million for RMR expansion. So we still have significant funds to fight RMR expansion. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot. We sent an email on it last night. Do you want to ask questions at the end about that, or is it clear?
Clear. Clear.
Okay. Okay, a quick 2020 budget overview. Total appropriations in this budget is just under $90 million. It includes a sales tax, an assumed sales tax increase of 2%, a cost of living adjustment of 3%. We've absorbed the 2% increase in health insurance. We've added 3 employees, a PIO, an asset management application specialist, and a compost position. It meets all FAB recommendations established, except establishing a bonus pool and step compensation plan for staff, which I really wanted to try to fit into this budget for your approval, but with the constraints on the general fund, we just could not this year. The reserves we do have are $5.2 million in the general fund, which is 25% of projected expenses, $3 million in the A&I fund, and $2 million in the capital projects fund. For streets, we are investing $5.76 million, broken up between the general fund, the street tax, capital projects. This does not include the $13.5 million that we are currently expecting for South Midland. So it's a significant investment in our streets. Looking at what we have historically spent on budgeted street maintenance and construction, since 2016, we budgeted just over $500,000. There's been a steady increase to $3.1 million just in our street tax. Okay, now the fun stuff, spending the money. Large projects or just important projects or important city services. In the 2020 budget, reconstruction of South Midland, 22nd Street and Cedar Crest. In these, I went ahead and linked them to your council goal. I won't read them all. Public information officer, an asset manager software, information technology. We're pushing forward with the ESCO performance contract to help improve our buildings. We will be determining financing options to bring back to you for how to expand broadband. We budgeted to construct a 4th electric substation, to construct a compost lagoon, and hire additional employees for composting operation to improve our operation. We're going to continue to fortify our security and the reliability of the IT systems, work towards affordable housing goals, including a density bonus, and we currently have planned 27 city-hosted special events. We'll be designing Southbridge, working with RAFTA to reduce on a congestion reduction study to focus on BRT parking and the intersection level of service improvements. We have a microloan program now for downtown businesses. We're going to begin a needs assessment and basic design on the replacement of the West Glenwood Fire Station. And we proudly provide quality service for the 30 to 40 planning cases processed each year and approximately 400 building permits. We wanted to remind you of the day-to-day services we do on top of all the shiny projects. Okay, and when we explain why it is problematic, when I say it's hard to cut things or move things into the general fund, looking at this, I'm trying to kind of paint the picture of our general fund revenues compared to how much we expend. Is more significant, the gap is more significant than many other cities. Now, these cities are all different. They have all different services. This is not a perfect comparison by any chance, by any means. So, but as we grow our, total revenue and our total expenditures, our general fund has not kept up over the years.
So Deborah, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt, but on that last slide, is the blue and the orange, is that supposed to be added together?
No, the blue is the total general fund.
Mm-hmm.
The orange is total revenue,
Which includes the general fund.
which includes the general fund, but it's just a subset. So the general fund would be, I think, the little
Gotcha.
slice of that.
Gotcha.
So you can see the general fund is a small part of our total revenue as opposed to our total expenditures. And you have cities like Steamboat Springs where it's much closer to being even. Durango has a larger general fund than we do. They expend about the same money. Aspen is a completely different world from most cities and just has a completely different budget. So I just want to be careful we don't slip towards Aspen expected services with the city of Glenwood Springs general fund. Yes, ma'am.
Deborah, can you just speak to, kind of looks like we're doing a large amount of deficit spending just with the graph. Can you explain that difference? And is that in our grant
That's,
funding or?
that's revenue's probably not counted on the $13 million
Yeah,
Midland.
it's also the bond financing and the,
So that includes all of that?
Yes.
So that's why that gap, because, so I just want it clear that we're not deficit spending our budget.
we are going into reserve somewhat this year, but we believe at a responsible
But not to
level.
that level, right?
But it's also it's a struggle because we have revenues. As we have brought in additional tax resources, special revenue funds, those came along with restrictions that they couldn't be used for general fund activities. So we bring in more and more money that cannot be used on general fund activities. And it creates that struggle every year where we have to build large projects or just keep up, but we cannot use that funding for general fund employees. So it's just something to keep in mind as we try to balance the general fund every year. Okay, there were some questions on the arts program budget and then also the parks budget. And the arts program budget was a cost center where we put not only arts, but facility services and special events. For arts programming, we're spending just over $107,000 on arts programming. We're spending $106,000 on facility management because we have an employee based out of there. And that's out of the general fund. And we're spending $228,000 just over that on special events. And that includes the $150,000.
This for next year.
This is for next year.
Okay.
So that's included in the 150 that, doesn't that show up in the A&I or where does
It's
that?
transferred out of the A&I and into the general fund.
To this line item?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
And one of the things I kind of missed on there was the revenue from all the arts programming and that type of stuff, and that's accounted for at a different spot. I mean, obviously, if we're going to do arts programming, people are going to pay for
Yeah,
it.
there is revenue does come back.
Right.
If I am remembering correctly. Brian,
I
just
always
answer
have to
this
get
question.
Brian up, I'm sorry, Brian, it's just, I like you to come visit us.
Yeah, when we First, I talked to council about the creation of the Arts Center and the arts programming directed from council with the creation of Arts and Culture Board and all that. You know, we went forward with determination to have this, the programs and facility sustainable by the revenue it generates. And we are on track to be able to do that. For instance, at half-year point, our year-to-date revenues for programming was $21,500, and our expenditures at that time was $34,871. So we had a really high cost recovery with that. With facilities, to kind of give you an idea of what that would look like, at half year, we are at $43,561 in expenditures. Once we're able to put in the fire suppression and be able to rent out that building space and do different events like that, we're anticipating about $25,000 in revenue. So we're going to try and match that as we go forward. So we're still doing a lot of work in building up the programs. Right now we have 16 different programs. And I think we have some additional slides on all that.
We
but
do.
The revenue, is starting making its way up.
Getting there. Great, thank you.
Great.
Can I ask one other question, Brian? Can you go back to the previous slide where it says special events? I think you went ahead. Where it says special events, is that arts special events? That's
So this makes up the $150,000 to special events. That covers everything from 4th of July, New Year's, Oktoberfest, all that stuff, as well as Pat Miller's position and any related expenses with that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just, I saw it under arts program, and I didn't know if we had some special arts events that were occupying.
Not yet, they're coming.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just where we chose to budget that expense.
Understood.
And normally
Okay.
I'd say let's get through this and then bring it back for comments. But since we already broke the seal on that, I do want to make a comment on this. You know, I'm looking right here at the 990 from the Arts Council from 2016. And in 2015, they spent $470,000. That was their expense line item to bring arts programming to the community. And in 2016, they spent $410,000 to bring arts programming to the community. So might be some administration, some overhead in there in your slide, but
Did they have revenue?
they did have revenue. They had grants of 200,000, contribution and grants of 200,000, and program service of 223,000. And they lost $121,000 in 2015 and $67,000 in 2018. So, you know, I just think it goes to show that, you know, we're providing, maybe we're not providing some of the upper level classes that they provided, but, you know, we're still providing service level to the community at a much lower expense than had been provided before. So thank you for doing that, Brian. I know it's been a chore for the last couple of years since it kind of fell into your lap. So we appreciate that. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, just 16 programs with 113 participants, and I think Brian is trying to continue to grow programming. When we got the building, and don't worry, I won't read this all, we had 15 facility improvements and code compliance issues we had to take on before we could use the building. As Brian pointed out, that we need to change out the staircase, and then also put in a fire suppression system before the building can be fully operational and we can rent it out at night. Okay, special events. We have 27 city-hosted community events. So just recently we had Oktoberfest, and coming up we have the Halloween Spooktacular. We're really looking forward to the New Year's Eve celebration. I think we already have 1,000 people interested. So it should be good. We have the band called Ripe, and I think it's gonna be fun.
And fireworks.
Great.
And fireworks. Okay, Parks Department. Let me just center here. Bring this one over. Okay.
Yeah. So council wanted to see a little bit of a more breakdown on what made up the increases to parks. And we had a number of different factors. We tried to, well, we did budget each of our budgets to be expense neutral into 2020 from 2019 budget. Parks was the one exception to that. And to just kind of go down through this, you're already aware of most of these, but we'll go down through. So we had the 2 full-time staff and related costs added from the downtown maintenance district brought in-house so we can kind of control those costs a little more. We were looking at an additional $46,000 that would have been added in 2020, and we were already at $450,000, so we knew we needed to get ahead of that and manage that and bring that budget down and then start whittling it down and being a little more efficient with that, as well as providing a better level of service. This also reflects an employee that we added in 2018 that was after the budget was approved, so it didn't show in that 2019 budget. We had the part-time and seasonal transfers from downtown also in that transfer from A&I. And then so that makes up the bulk of downtown, as well as some operational costs of $20,675 there. And then the other factor that was brought in was the purchase of the new parks facility and related costs of that. So we have $32,000 for utilities, $46,600 for maintenance items, and then just some miscellaneous operational expenses that come with both the additional staff and the new building, PPEs, office supplies, small tools, different things like that. So that makes up the $507,000 increase.
Brian, are the 2 for the soccer field road, the new facility for parks, is that offset? Are there savings on what Parks was contributing
Yeah, so
to MOC, or is that?
And I can give you, we didn't want to get too down into the weeds with you on how that all breaks up, but I can give you a little bit of an idea. So we were spending, and it was quite the chore trying to mine through our financial system to break this out, but we were able to find it.
Especially with the new change to the ERP system.
Yeah, so we had about $43,205.96 in costs for the MOC that was directly from Parks. We make up one of 5 different departments that are in that building, so those costs are split out 5 different ways.
Okay.
So that was our portion of it.
I believe we're still at least budgeting for some of that next year.
Right, yeah, and that's a good point, is we'll still be maintaining the MOC for a while next year as well.
Next year.
Yeah. So in this building, we'll just be one department with maintaining the full balance of the cost for that.
Okay.
And these are conservative estimates based off of what we've seen in other facilities. We're asking for an additional $80,000 increase for building maintenance and utilities. And I can give you that number breakdown if you really want to see the numbers. I got it all here. And actually, I think we have a slide on it as well if you want to see that.
Okay.
And then we'll make adjustments as we see actuals come in. So.
Great, thanks.
I'm just glad we'll be saving a lot of money on Portowitz this coming year.
So overall, I think it's a budget we're really proud of. It's a work plan we're very proud of. We've got a lot going on this year. We have a lot of good stuff going on next year. And it's a great city, and we're working every day to make it better.
Thank you very much for
Great.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Deborah, for that presentation. I think
So, Mr. Mayor, if I can, just to cue it up legally where we're at in the budget process. So tonight Deborah is required by charter to present the budget to you. You are required to hold a public hearing on the budget, which if you guys advance this in the form it is, would be at the next regular council meeting to take public input on the budget. And then the meeting following that, so basically the first meeting in November, you would be adopting a budget. The reason for that sequencing is to allow the public an opportunity to comment on the budget, for you an opportunity to take those comments and consider them meaningfully. Some entities have a public hearing on the budget and then pass it the same night. It's kind of hard to consider if there's any substantive public input to really consider it in that space, as complicated as budgets are. So that's kind of where you're at. So really coming at it tonight, it's just setting that public hearing on the budget at the next meeting.
Okay.
Great.
Looks like we have some comments about the presentation. Counselor Stepp.
I really appreciate all the hard work the staff has done, and Steve and Yvette, thank you so much. I know those are late hours. This was my first budget, so I spent a lot of time on it, trying to learn it and figure out how things work, and went line by line where I could, just trying to understand the come and go, and I ended up with a lot of questions that Shelley and I had, Shelley was going to a meeting, she asked me to express some of my concerns. And I just wanted to be clear that those were just talking points of things I saw, and I saw that some of this was already addressed tonight. What I'd really like to do is just kind of take some of my questions and bring it to FAB, and talk with them, you know, are these things that we look at next year, we really value their input as well? So I just wanted to be clear on that those were things that I caught, I'm learning, and I appreciate really the response that I've been getting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Woolman.
I would like to add what Paul said. I know the tremendous amount of time that Deborah, Steve, Yvette, and all of our department heads have put into this. And it's I'm very happy with the budget. I think there's some tweaks that we may have to talk about, and I think that, you know, I think it's a good idea to take that, and I would suggest we do it in the January FAB meeting, to give everybody a chance to kind of decelerate from the budget cycle, and also let Steve and Yvette get back on the ERP, which I know takes a lot of time and they've been diverted from. So I would move to accept the receipt of the budget tonight and to set this for a public hearing on October 17, 2019.
I second the motion.
It's been moved by Charlie and seconded by Shelley. Sorry. I got to get more sleep.
What's your name?
Any more conversation, Shelley?
I had one conversation that, and I don't know if we want to talk about this tonight, but I think Counselor Willman had an idea on that too. At our last meeting 2 weeks ago, the day after, actually, the Friday after our last meeting, we did approve to move forward with the project for upgrading Two Rivers Park. And the motion that was put forth by Counselor Davis and was ultimately approved and passed by council was to fund that project with kind of a split between the Capital Projects Fund and A&I. And I did have some discussion with staff about that, accounting staff and finance staff, and it looks like traditionally parts of the park upgrades have come from the Capital Projects Fund, so I just had a question on how much of that we might want to fund from capital projects versus A&I. And the concern there is that we're really spending down our kind of some extra funding in A&I that we could use for things that might come up during the year. And also, we've talked about trying to start an escrow fund as we move forward towards Southbridge and trying to get Southbridge built, that we want to put some money away every year in a line item for that in A&I. So I was going to propose that we, kind of define that amount from council, that what that split might be and how much could come from capital projects. But I think Councilor Willman, you suggested taking that to FAB and letting them discuss it and give us a recommendation on
Let's say
that.
meeting in January, I think would be a good time to do that.
So if that's acceptable to council, I guess I'd ask that we do that and have them bring that back for us.
Thank you. I think it's a
Great
good time to do it.
suggestion.
Thanks.
I completely forgot because I got nervous to thank Yvette and Steve for all your wonderful work, all department heads, all staff that also helped with the budget, and then all of you guys for your patience. I know this is a very long process. It's very confusing.
Well, and I meant to say that also for finance stuff and all the work they've done with a new ERP system and trying to transition the budget into that, and the late nights, yes. And the extra time spent with myself and other counselors on explaining the details of the budget. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Counselor Voorhees.
Yeah, good job. I would just say if there was enough money to do everything that this town deserved to have happen, it would be wonderful, but resources are not always abundant and plentiful. And I think this is a very reasonable budget, subject to some tweaking going forward, but the person hours that went into this, just from council and especially from staff, are just almost all consuming. And so we got through it. People are still talking to each other, and that's a good thing. So thank you all.
Counselor Davis.
Well, I don't want to be the only one sitting up here that doesn't express my gratitude. I'd like to ramble over my gratitude, but we promised tonight we wouldn't ramble, so I'll save that for a toast when we put this to bed.
Fair enough. And I just specifically want to single out Yvette's son for helping with some ERP troubleshooting. So please pass that on to him, that the council is grateful for his late nights as well. All right, we have a motion on the table. Let's take the vote.
Stepp, yes. Davis, yes. Goldish, yes. Kaup, yes. Voorhees, yes. Willman, yes. Motion passes.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, item number 8, planning item 19, number 25-19, I believe we're entertaining a motion to continue.
Yes, if you'd continue that to the October, whatever it is, 17th meeting, the next regular meeting.
Is there a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Been moved by Shelley, seconded by Rick to move planning item 25-19 to the October 17th meeting. Let's just call a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstained.
Abstained? Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving on to Ms. Voorhees and the library presentation.
Do you want my name for the record?
Please.
Alice Bedard Voorhees, 57 Cardinal Lane. So Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing me to speak with you tonight about Measure 6A, which is a mill levy ballot measure that will be presented in November 2019 for public vote. There are 3 sources of information that are helpful to both you and the public, and that is, there is a committee that has put up a website called voteforourlibraries.com, and it contains facts, figures, and endorsement opportunity at that site. Additionally, you have an information sheet in your packets tonight, and then I forwarded a slide deck because you get to see plenty of slides, but I wanted you to have it as an information resource. So I'm here as a representative to the board of 6 libraries in Garfield County, and also representing 65,000 library card holders. When I visited with you this summer as an informational item, I talked about how we'd had, in the last 10 years, the $2 million less is available each year per budget. But additionally, 3 years ago, there was a very drastic downturn, and we had to let go of employees and decrease hours, and many of you are very aware of those lost hours, both during the day and in the weekends. Having worked with a polling group who did both telephone and online survey based on voter records, we were given the message that it was, it was a good thing to go to ballot for a mill levy increase. And so, as we all decide whether a mill levy is appropriate or not, I think we always ask ourselves, what's the cost and what's the benefit? And the cost in this case, and you'll see that on Vote for Our Libraries also, is for homeowners, it will be an assessment of $10.80 per $100,000 of value that is determined by county assessment, not Zillow. Okay, just be clear on that. And for commercial properties, it would be $43.50 a year per 100,000 of commercial property assessment by the county assessor. So to what benefit would that result? And you have the information packet there, but one of the very loud and clear is restoration of hours. But with that additionally is the staff to meet those needs, and also to increase programming for both early childhood and, you know, the mid-level population we serve, and seniors will be another part of that, to keep the library buildings safe and well-maintained. Our oldest library, I think, was in 2006, and our last remodel was 2013. And so we want to, again, be good stewards of those facilities for ongoing service to the public. And financial responsibility also calls for attention to that as a budget item. So at this point, the other part I wanted to bring up is on that list of benefits that would be served is the improved, more books. We got some when people voted to allow us to, keep under Tabor, to keep that money, but in no way does it backfill what we've lost in building collections. And the other part is technology. And so technology is not only computers, it is the way we can teach people to use items in a technical age. And one of those examples would be how are libraries helping veterans navigate the portals that they need to get government services at medical facilities. All of that said, we have been talking to many groups, and we have 4 group endorsements besides the individuals that have said, I will endorse, or have gone online to that site, voteForOurLibraries.com. So literacy outreach, the Glenwood Chamber, unanimously, by the way, the Roaring Fork Schools, and Garfield School District, RE2. This is October, and November is the vote. So we are running on a short timeline to continue to be able to communicate with the public the items related to this vote. So I am here tonight to ask you if you would bring forth a motion and a vote whether to endorse this ballot measure or not. Thank you.
All right. Is there any questions for the esteemed Miss Voorhees? All right. Well, see none. Thank you very much, Alice.
Thank you.
I'll bring it back for comments and/or a motion.
Does the public have to comment?
I
don't know.
Sure. Yeah. Is there any public comment? See none. Thank you.
There we go.
That's probably great. Bring it back for a motion and/or comments. Charlie.
I had the opportunity to be at a library board meeting when they were having this discussion about this fund and the various things that Ms. Voorhees has indicated in the information in our packet, and I haven't had a chance to look at the slide presentation, but I think that the libraries is one of the most valuable resources we have for our community, for young people, old people, and even those in between like me. So I would make a motion, just a point of order. Do we ask you to draft a resolution?
Yeah, we typically, if it's a general consensus of council that they want to consider a resolution of support, I go ahead and draft that. I don't like to presuppose what your position is going to be and throw one in the packet. So if it's just want to give me direction, I can bring it back to the next meeting.
Well, my motion, given the timing, is to that we pass a resolution drafted by our city attorney and would be signed by the mayor without bringing it back, although we can look at it at the next meeting. But I would like us to get that resolution passed, signed, and available. So my motion is to ask the city attorney to draft a resolution for a signature by the mayor, thank you, whatever his name is, the mayor and the city clerk to support the library mill levy increase.
I second the motion.
It's been moved by Charlie, seconded by Shelley. Further discussion? Councilor Kopp.
I would just second what Charlie said. I think the library is very important to the community. It's great to have it downtown. I do notice the reduced hours, and I am aware of the funding loss that they've had with the severance tax issues and other items that have come up. So I think this is an important vote.
Thank you. Councilor Stepp?
I also agree with both of you. I do think this is a valuable asset to our communities. I know that I've heard from school teachers saying that they have students who have no internet access and need to find a place, and the library is the place they go to do their studying and find sources that they need for their classrooms and such. But I realize this is a cost. I just quickly figured, and, I'm looking at an annual cost of $50, $60 a year, but as a business, they're going to be looking at much more. And so I appreciate that the chamber supported this, because I know that it's going to affect a lot of chamber people a lot. And when I see that kind of support, it makes me feel even better to have the council behind that as well.
Great.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Well, it's been requested that we been motioned that we support this, so by Shelley seconded, so let's call the question.
We will go forward then with being able to communicate that this council endorses.
We need to vote first. We need to vote.
People could change their mind from all the...
Step yes, Davis yes, Goldish yes, Kaup yes, Voorhees yes, Willman yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Unanimous
Thank
support.
you.
Connect with Deborah, we'll get that to you. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Next item, annual museum activities update.
Thank you. I'll come by your shirt. I'll take care of it.
Good evening, I'm Bill Kite, the Executive Director of the Glenwood Springs Historical Society and Frontier Museum. I want to thank the council for this opportunity, for the city manager, the city attorney, and the clerk, all of you. Thank you for this opportunity to let you know what we've been doing, what we're up to. I'd like to start out to kind of combine 2018 and 2019. They kind of ran together in my preparation for this. We have brought back the Ghost Walk the last 2 weekends of this month. It will be back, and we'll see how it goes. So far, the ticket sales are quite brisk, and we think that because the community supported us in this, which was the whole purpose of seeing whether or not the community would support us in bringing it back, and they have, and so I'm proud to announce that. We also brought back the Hotel Colorado Ghost Tours that have been sort of languishing, and that's been through a partnership with Hotel Colorado and us, and so I'm proud of that. We had $27,000 in grants that we received. Robert J. Young Foundation was $5,000. The county was $5K. The city gave us $3,000 for republication of 2 guides that are very popular, a guide for the city, downtown city, and for the cemetery. And I doubled that money by having the chamber come up with another $3,000, so we were able to really use that money well. We're applying for a federal grant at this time that is called an Inspire grant. There's no matching for that, and we have a grant writer who's helping us with that as well. The one thing I think people don't notice, because if they don't watch TV or don't see a lot of this on the internet, we are on the American Art Project for 2019. Interviewed with that. That should be posted pretty soon. Channel 2, we were interviewed about the weird names in Colorado, and the weird name was No Name. So we were on Channel 2 for that. The Chamber's history blog will be filming some tomorrow for the advertisement for the Ghost Walk. We have a lot of authors we help. One German author in particular kind of stands out, as well as a German media fam tour and a Japanese media fam tour. We've been in the Mountain Town magazine twice. Dallas Magazine, PBS Street Level was a five-part series last year, and then this fall will be in the PBS special as well, about repurposing materials that we were able to get rid of in a storage unit. So that helped us a little bit. The last thing I want to talk about really is the budget. And I did this last year, if you remember. In 1999, we received $50,000 from the A&I fund, and that was 20 years ago. And we still are receiving $50,000. Inflation would show that that's really about $75,205.61 if you really kept up with inflation to fund us, but you haven't, and I understand why. But I am going to be asking for $85,000 to fund us this year instead of $60, because we are really in need of carrying through on some things that we have started. The grant that we also have won, the $14,000 from the state, is for historic assessment, so we can know exactly how the old building that's really in need of repair, what it will take to fix it, so we can then start a capital campaign. We've already had a check for $5,000 given to us to start that campaign. We haven't even started it yet. So that's it for me. I hope that you understand why we are at the state we're at of asking for more money. And so we'll be working with Steve, I'm sure. Right, Steve? And any questions?
Just a comment. I'm really, really glad to see that Ghost Walk back. That's really a neat event for the community. I think I've heard from a lot of people how excited they are to have that back.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but Bill, I really do appreciate everything you've done for this historical society or museum, and I think it's a real benefit to this community.
Well, we're pretty much ambassadors for Glenwood Springs, and so that's the way it should be, because Glenwood has a rich history, and I think it deserves the time and attention that we give it, and even more so. Anything else?
Looks like, is that questions, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie?
So just a question well, kind of comment and a question. Comment is, I think I talked to you, and I apologize for not calling you back when you tried to reach me a couple of days ago, but and Steve, I would hope that maybe there's something we can put on that January FAB meeting and see if we can, there's money that is recommended by them to increase the support of the historical group. And then I guess there's a question that has come in from somebody to my office that said that they were concerned about access to historical records and putting them on microfiche. Do you know anything about a state program for microfiche? I understand there might be one, and are we part of that or not?
We have an old microfiche machine that every time we use it, we pray that it doesn't break down again. And we'd like, of course, part of that increase in funding would be to purchase a more modern microfiche machine so that we can serve people better. We have most of the newspapers on the microfiche, and we applied for and got a grant and matched, I think it was $700, to have the Avalanche put the rest of it, try to put back on to microfiche as well. So we have that system, it's just not up to speed and up to date.
No, and I understand it, and I appreciate that, but is there a state, like a state database microfiche that you could add to so people could access it online or other places?
I'm not aware of it, but I'll certainly look into it. Okay. We, like I say, are trying to get through this newspaper project, all the newspapers on microfiche, so. But I'll look into that, Charlie. Thanks.
No, there's just a question somebody brought to my attention, so I thought I'd ask as long as you were here.
Sure.
So, thank you.
You bet. Okay?
Rick.
All right, thanks again.
I just want to thank you, Bill, and members of the Historical Commission for continuing to push this agenda forward. It just seems to be so entwined with Glenwood, and so thank you.
You're welcome, thanks. Okay.
Shelley?
Hold on, Bill.
Oh, I just had a question for Deborah. So is that funded from A&I?
Yes, and it's currently $60,000.
It is at the 60. Okay, I thought I heard 50 earlier, but yeah. Thank you, Bill.
I forgot about that. I think you were responsible for that, weren't you, Rick, last year, making that motion to increase it to 10, I think, but yeah, thanks. I forgot about that.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I too am very glad to see the Ghost Walk come back, so and the tours. Thanks. Great.
All right. Thank you again, Bill. We don't need to take any action on that, so we'll jump back down to item number 9, planning item number 3419, consideration of disconnection of the Cauldron property located at 217 Rosebud. Thanks, Rick.
Passing out for you all, excuse me.
Thank you.
Before I get started, just a potential suggested motion that you may be here in a couple of minutes. Carl said 10 minutes, I'm giving you 5.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's actually lying, I said 3, but he's a good negotiator.
I will try to be very quick here. I'm sure that our applicants, Jacques and Selena Claudon would appreciate that as well. But it is, good evening, Mayor and City Council, Trent Height with Community Development. This is the Claudon disconnection, which is planning item number 3419. And this is an application for what is technically by statute termed a disconnection, but is a de-annexation of a portion of property at the northeastern corner of the city that's approximately 14,000 square feet in size. It's located at 217 Rosebud, which is on Iron Mountain. The applicants, just to give you a quick history, they determined that a portion of their improvements to their property were located on the property to the south, which was owned by the Iron Mountain Land Development Company, I think, which is associated with the pool. The pool quit claimed that property to the Claudons in May of 2017. They were actually unaware of these improvements being located on the adjacent property and didn't know until they received a tax bill from the city that they were even transferred the property. However, it does make that portion, that 14,000 square feet, contiguous with the rest of their property. It's located to the north and outside of the city limits. A disconnection is outlined in Colorado Revised Statutes, Section 3112-501, and it's a lot different than an annexation that requires kind of a lengthy process and either that or an election by the folks being annexed, and that it only requires an ordinance by City Council to approve that. And there's really only one criteria, that the disconnection be in the best interest of the municipality and it would not be prejudiced by the disconnection. Just to note, the applicants receive no services from the city in terms of water, sewer, and electric. There's also requirements that we provide those services if properties are located in the city. So we did not receive any comments on this application. Section 706030G1D allows you on land use applications to either approve with conditions, deny, or you can continue this application for additional information. Staff recommends approval of action item 1, ordinance number 27, series of 2019. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Again, the applicants are here if you have any questions of them.
Any questions? All right.
Jacques and Selena, did you have anything? Yeah, well, they're ready for you to take action because they're out of here to Puerto Rico for the winter, I believe, soon anyway, but yeah. Thank you.
This is a public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Items,
I appreciate that.
planning item and the ordinance, if you want to take them together.
Okay, so can we take them together?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on these items? Can I do public comment for both items? On either item number 10 or item number 9? See none, I'll bring it back to council for question and or a motion. Councilor Kopp.
I would like to make a motion that I move to approve the disconnection of the Cloudon property located at 217 Rosebud, and ordinance number 27 of Series 2019 with the recommended findings listed on page 369 of the October 3rd, 2019 council packet.
Second.
It's been moved by Shelley and seconded by Rick.
My name's Steve.
Jeez.
I'm Shelley.
Did I say Paula? Did I say Paul and Rick? Good word.
We're going to retire you tonight.
You did so good on this part. It's been moved by Shelley, seconded by Steve. Let's call the question.
A lot of people think I'm Rick Davis.
Step yes. yes. Goldish, yes. Cow, yes. Voorhees, yes. Willman, yes. Motion passes unanimous.
I think he was on the end.
Right, because that's
Thank
actually,
you.
you're in the wrong chair, you need to move down.
You're welcome.
All right.
Get that straightened out.
Item number 13, City Council use of social media policy.
Make a motion that we table that.
I heard a motion from Councilor Davis that we table this to the next meeting. Do I hear a second? Well, I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded. Can we just do a voice vote? Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Nay. All right. 5-1, it is tabled. All right. Correspondence. I did not arrange that at all. That was organic. I hate to swear. City manager report.
Okay, very quickly. There will be an overnight closure of the 27th Street Bridge this Monday evening, starting at 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Tuesday morning. Will be overnight construction. It's expected that it will open by 6 a.m., but we're going to go ahead and advertise 12 p.m. to be safe. So, the community dinner we talked about, we're tentatively planning for November 16th at the community center.
What,
Could
I'm
you guys
sorry, what
let
was
me
that?
know? The what?
Mike, hearing again, we
The
just,
community dinner we were planning, we're tentatively planning for November 16th. The community center is booked. So if you guys cannot make it, please let me know. We're kind of going for a Thanksgiving, be grateful theme.
What night is that?
November 16th.
this Saturday.
And I think we're going to use the opportunity to also connect with the public on some of our strategies for the RMR fight.
Something like 6-ish, is that what we're looking at?
I don't know, I think we just kind of blocked it off.
That
first.
works for me.
Great.
Okay, that's all I got.
City attorney.
Thank you.
Great, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about the social media policy.
I figured you would filibuster.
Sounds great, thank you. Correspondence, incoming and outgoing. I do have one thing. This is a note from Jim and Sherry Sederberg. Jonathan, we wanted to thank, and council, we wanted to drop you and the council a sincere note of appreciation for allowing us to present Co-Mom to you, as well as your universal support to the incredible event. So many lives will be touched and comforted, function and aesthetics to, man, their handwriting's not great. This will showcase Glenwood Springs for not only a great tourist destination, but a town that cares about disadvantaged citizens from here and elsewhere. Again, thank you so much for your support. I would encourage all of you to swing by that weekend, which is this weekend, and see your work in action. It starts tomorrow morning and goes through Sunday morning, so if anybody wants to come, but. All right, with that,